Good evening to all of our family in Facebook and YouTube land. I am Kwanzaa Bridell, the co-founder of the Bridell Family Foundation, and I welcome you to tonight's episode series session of Meet the Author. We are so excited about the guests that we have with us. We can't wait to share her and her books with you and let her tell us a little bit about her journey. So with no further ado, let me present to some and introduce to others the author, Nichole Jackson. Good evening, Nicole.
Evening.
Hi, how are you? There's a slight delay in you popping in here.
I am good. I'm good. It's Monday.
Yes, it's Monday. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you here with the foundation. We put out the information that we were looking for authors to come on and share with our students and our family members, authors of children's books. So we really appreciate you answering that call. So we already have some viewers that have already logged on to hang out with us tonight. So we welcome all of them and thank them for joining us. And we're just going to jump right into it. So Nicole, tell us about Nicole in your own words.
I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur. But my primary business heading into 2020, I was a travel agent, and I had over 24 agents that worked for my company. And as you can imagine, when COVID struck, travel ceased. And so I kind of was sitting around and not only looking for things for me to do, but things for my son to do. And just, it was just him and I in the house. And so I'm one of those moms that really likes to, keep, my kids engaged. And my daughter is an adult. And so I always wanted to write a children's book series. I just kind of always felt like I never had the time. And then in 2020, I had the time.
We all had the time in 2020.
Right. I love outdoors. I love swimming. I love camping, all of those kinds of things. And so this book series kind of really is about my son, but it's also about a lot of the things I love that I am trying to show him as he gets older. So.
Okay. How old is your son?
He is 8.
Awesome. So you said you're a serial entrepreneur, and I know you mentioned the travel, and like you, my passport has been tucked away, but I'm ready to pull it out. I actually pulled them out this morning and double checked everybody's expiration dates. Like, do I need to renew anybody's passport? Because the world is ready to open.
I posted that the other day. I was like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but check your passport expiration date.
Yeah, I do that. So, I did a little research on you, not much, just a little bit of research. And you said that as an author, creating a movement geared towards teaching our children the importance of play, being creative, and using their imagination with your series, The Adventures of Dash Jackson. So this is a 2-pronged question. So what made you choose play and using your imagination? And then kind of what made you want to be an author or always to become a children's author?
So for me, I noticed that my children are 15 years apart. So my daughter was very much so that little kid who could, go in her room and just play with her dolls and play with different things, but not necessarily sitting in front of the TV all day long, not necessarily always engaged in electronics and that sort of thing. And so now fast forward 15 years later, and I have this son who, as we know, technology is such a huge deal. And even now that they're actually learning online, they are just in front of the TV, the iPad, all day long, every day, the computer. And so I really kind of wanted to get back to the concept of like going outside and just playing and being creative. And, so he and I will just, do different arts and crafts projects and do different things and build different things, because I think that it's important for kids to kind of still be kids. And I think that now with all of the technology, they kind of skip over fun. They skip over play, or the definition of what is fun has changed drastically over the years.
I totally agree with that. And actually, that's almost a perfect segue for me, because, like you said, children today are always on their phones, on their tablets, on their devices, and they don't go outside. I had my nieces and nephews with me over the summer, and they were not all at one time, because I don't think I'd be able to handle that. So over the summer, they are from the ages of 3 through 10, and I had a different one every week. And I'd be like, okay, let's go outside and play. And I swear, after 10 minutes, they're like, Auntie, I want to come inside. It's hot. I'm bored. I'm like, there's a whole playground outside. There's a whole swimming pool. You've got toys. You've got activity. How can you be bored? So the children do. They've lost what I think we had in our generation. And one of the focuses of the Bridell Family Foundation is to promote literacy and increase reading amongst the children. So we have a program called Reading is Fundamental, and Reading is Fundamental helps us to do just that. And right now, for Reading is, the foundation is partnered with 3 elementary schools. And right now, as part of our Reading is Fundamental program, we are doing a readathon. So if you would indulge me for just a moment during your time with us, I want to shout out the students at our elementary schools who are participating in the readathon. They've been reading since March 1st. And today, as of today, from March 1st to today, we have read over 74,000 minutes combined with these students. So let me shout out the students at A.J. Lewis Greenview Elementary School down in Columbia, South Carolina. Hey, my Greenview Jaguar babies. And then I want to shout out the students at Buckingham Elementary down in Berlin, Maryland. So if you're ever down near the ocean, if you come to the shore of Maryland, go check out my students there. They are reading so hard. And lastly, I want to shout out my students at West Salisbury Elementary School down in Salisbury, Maryland. So those students, some of them I hope have tuned in tonight. Like I said, they've been reading really hard. They've been winning. We're giving them prizes for participating in this journey. And we are also doing a book drive right now. So we are collecting books so that way in April it's World Book Day. And I'm sure as an author, you know that. In April, we will be donating books to each one of those schools so that every student at the school can receive a book. So we're asking people to donate their new or gently used books to us.
I have a box.
We're asking them to donate their new or gently used books to us, and they can call the foundation number to make their donation or to drop off their books. But we just wanted to shout them out. So in doing this shout out, we also tell the children that if they are here, we are doing a giveaway because Miss Nicole has given us 2 books that she has written that we can share with you. So if any of my students are here right now, drop your name in the comments or go get your parents and tell them, put my name in the comments so that we can enter you in the drawing for one of these free books. And we're going to give that away to you. In just a couple of days, we're giving away all the author books at the end of the month. So thank you for letting me shout them out, Nicole. I really appreciate you giving me that time. So you're an author, but you're not just an author. You became a publisher. You chose to publish your own books. What's the name of your publishing company?
Publishing company is DNA Publishing, and that actually stands for Dash, Nicole, and Ashland. So it's something that I wanted to create to leave to my children. So anything that we publish from this point forward, my children have ownership in the company as well. And I think it was just important because I own all the rights. It was a daunting process because I had to learn all of the ins and outs, the legal aspects, and really kind of do my research. So I spent probably about 5 to 6 months learning, because in my mind, in March, I was like, you know what? Let me write this book. It'll be out in May. And then August, September, and I'm like, okay. But it was really exciting to learn the process and to just be a part of every single step, from the editing process to publishing to distribution, and seeing my book actually in other countries. So it is available worldwide online. We're now working to get the book actually on the shelves of bookstores. in Europe as well as here in the United States. So,
wow. Well, congratulations to you, because you said you thought it was going to be out in May. You meant May of 2020, and you started writing it in March when everything shut down. Like, we didn't shut down till about the second week of March as a country.
Right. So I had been talking to my girlfriends before the pandemic because they both wrote children's books. And so this was, like I said, something I had been thinking about. And so once we realized, towards the end of March, like, okay, we're about to be stuck in the house. My girlfriend said to me, I need you to just write 3 pages. And I called her the next morning and I said, I finished it. And she was like, I told you. I literally wrote it overnight. And I was like, okay, so now I don't know what to do next. And that's when the process started for me. And so but then I wrote book 2, and then I wrote book 3. And so I now have 5 that they're completely done. They're now being illustrated. So book 2 is being illustrated right now. Shout out to my illustrator, Cameron Wilson, who is by far one of the most dopest artists. And he's just amazing. He's amazing to work with.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because that was going to be my next question. So the question that I asked you was, you said you gave us a lot. So you started in March, and this book was released in September?
No, it actually wasn't released until the week of Black Friday.
Okay.
So and that's how long it took.
Okay. And this is the cover of your book, Nicole. So The Adventures of Dash Jackson. So you said you decided to go on this publishing journey and make sure that you own the rights. And I admire that. How did you choose your illustrator?
So I took a few weeks and just searched online. There are tons of platforms for illustrators to upload their work. And I've reached out to, I think when I finished counting, I reached out to 34 different illustrators. And just depending on how quickly they responded, the conversations, a lot of them I spoke with them directly. He actually graduated from the Atlanta College of Art and Design, which is now the Savannah College of Art and Design, where my daughter goes to school. So and he now lives in Florida, and my daughter had just moved from Florida. And it was so many different things in our conversation. He was a young Black male. And I just thought it would be really amazing to have a young Black male illustrator draw my illustrations for my book about my young Black son. And that was very important for me. I wanted a Black illustrator, but then it was, I wanted to be a guy. And we meshed and clicked instantly. And he's encouraged me throughout this process, because he's illustrated, I don't even know, dozens and dozens of books at this point. But even today, he sent me some, words of encouragement about just the direction I'm going in as far as, my writing. And I appreciate him tremendously. So I just want to make sure I shout him out.
Yes. And that we wanted to ask about that. And it's great, because we, as Black, African-American, people of color, Black, Indigenous people of color, we are starting to see ourselves more, but we still don't see ourselves enough. So in 2021, to continue to still say, oh, this was the first woman, this was the first Black woman, this is the first woman of color, our first Black males to do something, it's still kind of like, when are we going to just be accepted for us? So the fact that you chose someone who looks like your son to draw and depict your son, who can draw us better than us? Right? Because he understands the feelings and the emotions that Dash will be going through, and he can put that into paper. So I just want to say real quick, I see you babies, and they are
I know, I was like, I see them.
Shout out to Tashana, shout out to Eva May. I'll shout out some more of you as we go forward, but I don't want them to think that I don't see them dropping their names in and they're there. So thank you guys for joining us. They're saying pick me. Shout out to Ivan. So you explained to us DNA publishing, and I like that, because it's DNA, to me, it's almost it's what's in us. So to say, what's in me is representing you and your legacy is a beautiful thing. And I know there was an age gap between your children. So what role does the real Dash Jackson play in your books?
I always say to myself that he kind of gave me a renewed sense of purpose. When he came along, my daughter was getting ready to go off to college, and I could kind of just smooth sailing from that point forward. I didn't necessarily wouldn't have had to like work so hard anymore, because my job was done. And then he came along, and it was like, okay, got to keep the foot on the gas pedal. Got another one.
Can't take that vacation yet.
No, not at all. And so he just, he's so opposite of his sister. But he's like really a cool kid, but he's very mild mannered. He's one of, he's not the little boy that'll come in the room and you'll know he's there because he's like bouncing all over everything. He's very, kind of mild mannered. And, but he rolls with the flow. So if I want to go for a hike, he's like, okay. If I want to go ride a bike, he's like, okay. And that's what The Adventures of Dash Jackson is all about. Just in the book, Dash does all these fun things with his mom. It's kind of like his mom just comes up with these quirky ideas, and then he, in his imagination, takes it to another level.
So, oops, I somehow got muted. So you actually have these adventures with him on your own, and then they kind of grew to the adventures that you share within your book.
Yes. Yeah. So he and I, we go to the park a lot. So in the first book, that was kind of a natural segue for us in the first book for the story to be about him at the park and just him just having these amazing adventures in his mind as he's doing basic things like, playing on the playground or just taking a hike through the park. And it allows kids to see that, it's okay to imagine yourself as an astronaut, and it's okay to imagine yourself as, a ninja, or, a lot of times you'll see little kids dressed up in costumes and it's like a Tuesday afternoon in the grocery store and they're like, but that's the kind of stuff my son used to like to do. Like he didn't care. He would put on, whatever. And he made a coronavirus like protection belt during COVID, and it had like hand sanitizer. And so it's just all about being creative and just having fun. Like that is literally the goal of the movement. The website is going to start having more activities and suggestions for activities and different things. We're going to start highlighting summer camps and other things that kids can do, and our top 10 summer camps and that sort of thing, just to encourage kids to get back to the fun.
Cool. That's good to hear that you're doing some of those things. So I want to open it up to the viewers because the viewers are out there. So if we have any viewers, please take the time now to drop your questions in. What questions do you have for Nicole? She's already shared so much of herself. And before we dig into the book, what questions do you all have for Nicole? Drop those questions in the comments so that we can share them with her. And I see some other people not dropping their names, and I have to check. Crystal Kitchen said, pick me. So I don't know if that's the mom or the parent or the guardian's name that's in there, or she's speaking for her child. So if you're a student from one of our schools, Buckingham, West Salisbury, or Greenview, drop your name in because you will be in the drawing for the free book. Okay. We're giving that away to one of the students at our partner schools. So while we're waiting for our customers, while we're waiting for the viewers and your friends and followers to drop in their comments, tell me some more about you. What are your inspirations? What inspires you, Nicole?
It's kind of cliche to say my kids, but they definitely are. And I had to dedicate the first book to both of them. They definitely are my motivation, my inspiration. And then, I come from a family of educators.
Okay.
And I am the one person in my family who kind of took the non-traditional route as far as just, my career and that sort of thing. And so, um, I want to leave a legacy, and I want to feel like when it's all said and done that I've made my grandmother proud and I've made my parents proud. Um, I joke with people, my mom is a doctor and a lawyer. So I got big shoes to fill. Um, and I watched her go to law school when I was in high school. And so I watched her go through this journey to become a lawyer, and then to then go to theology school and to get her doctorate in theology later on in life. And so I've watched her do all of these things and work really hard. And I want my children to also, and my daughter's work ethic is far exceeds mine. And I think it's because she watched me work really hard. And now it's just embedded in her to do that. And so that's, kind of what motivates me and inspires me, is just wanting to make sure that when it's all said and done, I've also given back. I really enjoy volunteering and giving back to the community. I haven't during COVID gone into the kitchens where I used to actually go in the kitchen. We would make thousands of sandwiches and thousands of pans of spaghetti, or hundreds of pans of spaghetti for thousands of people in DC. That's something I really enjoy doing. I want to at some point help young children, if they have an idea for a book, to go through that process and help them to publish their book. So that's something that I want to work on in 2021, is that additional piece to DNA publishing, which is assisting young students with publishing their own books as well. Because a lot of them can draw, and they have these really amazing ideas for stories, and they do that in class, but that's where it sits. They turn the assignment in and then that's it. But it really probably could be an amazing book if they just write a little bit more and add to it. But if they don't know the process and don't know how to do it. So I'm just driven by, wanting to always say that I was the best version of myself. That's kind of what pushes me.
I think that's the best thing that we can ever do. So you said always wanting to say that you're the best version of yourself. And I think that's something that I try to always instill into my children, is from the oldest to the youngest. So my children are mostly grown, and one's almost there, at least in her mind. So they're like 28, 25, and 15. But I always say to them when they're doing something, make yourself proud. Everybody's always like, oh, I got to make my mom proud. I got to make my grandmother proud. I got to do this for the family. Make yourself proud. Take all of those values that I put into you, everything that I tried to teach you. And if you're proud of yourself, then you're probably doing a good thing. And if you're not proud of yourself, then that means that you're intrinsically doing something that one of those values that I said, hey, don't do that. Would you be proud of yourself if your mom knew you were doing such and such? Right. So I like that you said, make the best version of yourself. I'm going to keep interrupting us, Nicole, because your friends and your viewers are still there. So somebody says it's amazing. Her daughter creates books on computer paper, and they'd love to work with you when you begin helping other people. We want to shout out to Dominic Griffin, and we want to shout out to Ivan, who's out there, and who else is there? Mr. Mike Singleton. I'm not sure what schools you guys are from, but I think in speaking, sometimes we get caught up. And I said we're going to give a prize to one of our partner schools, but that's not completely true. We are going to give away a prize to anyone who is viewing tonight out of the two books. So we shout out our partner schools because those are the babies that are near and dear to our heart. And then we also have our reading buddies who are part of another program that the Burdell Foundation offers in its Reading is Fundamental umbrella. Those students are reading too. And if you just happen to be a fan of the Burdell Family Foundation, or if you came to our page because you're a fan of Nicole, or if someone else sent you our way, drop your name in the comments too. So the drawing will be done, I think the first week in April. We've had different authors come throughout the month, and we're doing the drawing all at one time. It's kind of our end of the month celebration, our 31 days of reading celebration. So forgive me in my error. I did say the prize was going to be given away to one of our students, but if you're viewing this live, drop your name and you could win one of those books. We'll be giving away 2 of them. So I wanted to correct that. I don't see any other questions right now. So I think you might have touched on this a little bit earlier. And I like how the book captures Dash's facial expressions as he's doing his adventures. So perfect timing, Mr. or Mrs. Mitchell. Perfect timing. So my question that I was just about to ask is, how do you choose Dash's next adventure? And I think you might have touched on it a little bit, but how do you choose Dash's next adventure?
Well, the next book was written when we were kind of right in the midst of just the uncertainty of what is the coronavirus and kids, being at home. And it was when they shut schools down and it was kind of like, okay, are they going to offer classes online or, what does this look like? And so the second book is I Cannot Imagine. And it's a story about Dash being at home, and he's already at home because he can't go to school. And then it's raining. So now he's like, wait a minute, I can't go outside either. Like, I cannot imagine what I'll do all day stuck in the house. And he has some pretty interesting adventures with his mom. They go on a trip to Mexico. Not really,
okay.
But
the way you choose your next adventure, the way you choose the next adventure is kind of based on what you and Dash are about to do next. That's
right. It was kind of just fueled by what we were dealing with. It was like we were stuck in the house, and we were like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what do we do all day long? So I ordered arts and crafts off of, Amazon, and came up, and that's where book 2, the idea for book 2 came from. It was just all of the different things that we were doing. In one of the parts of the book, he dresses up as a weatherman because he has to do a project on different places in the country. And so his mom's like, well, this is how you'll learn where different places, what the climate is like in this place versus that place. And so in his mind, he dresses up as a weatherman.
Oh, very, very, very interesting. I like his imagination, which goes back to what you said before. So our viewers are asking questions. How does Dash feel about the book being about him?
Well, he says it's my book, and he's referring to himself. He's like, I wrote a book, and I'm like, you kind of didn't, but okay, I won't. He is excited. Like, now when it's time to read a book, he wants to literally pull that book out and read it every time. And I'm like, we got to read something else, buddy. Like, you can't read Dash Jackson every time, but maybe mommy needs to get the gears moving to get some more release so you have more to read.
So does he give you ideas about what he wants to see in the next book?
So book 5, because he didn't really know what I was doing until he started seeing the illustrations. And so by that time I had already written 4 of them. So book 5, he is a co-author.
Awesome. That's amazing.
The idea and concept came completely from him. It is about a flying backpack, and that was his entire, like, the idea, the concept, and everything in the storyline was all his. I just took what he gave me, and he kind of helped me write the story.
Awesome. I like that you let him do that. So that kind of sinks in or cements the fact that it's really about the DNA of who you are. So let's shout out some more of our friends. And if you have any more questions, please keep dropping your questions in there. So we want to shout out to Walter Burdell II. We want to shout out to Kamara, Ezekiel, Carson, Leilani, Kadima. Welcome to all of our friends. I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The next, or I guess I had the question, because we have so many viewers, and I'm sure that they're probably all different ages. I hope that they're all different ages. We do these Meet the Author segments. You're kind of our children's book author, but we also do Meet the Author segments with authors who write more mature or adult books, or I don't want to say adult and have people think that it's all grown and sexy talk. They're just books of poetry, self-help, just not on the elementary or middle school level. So as an author, and someone who wants the children to read their books, what do you have to say, or what words would you say to our students, our young readers, our adult readers, to encourage them to read not only your book, but to just continue to, as we like to say, keep reading, because reading is fun?
I think for me, and I was not a big reader as a child. It was just something I just didn't enjoy. I was math and science. I didn't really like reading. In my 20s, I developed like a love for reading, even created a book club and all that good stuff. And it really just expanded my knowledge of just, I didn't just read fiction. I would read nonfiction. I would just read, autobiographies about any and everybody. And it really allows you to just kind of escape. When you're reading, you kind of just go off into another place. And it really is an opportunity for you to just learn about different things, but also just kind of tuck yourself away and kind of really, I mean, I've read books where I really felt like I was a part of the the adventure or a part of the story, and you didn't want it to end. I think reading just helps you to just grow. I just finished reading a book called Dignity, and I tell people, or I've been telling people for the past few weeks, it changed my life. Even at 44 years old, it really had a major impact. And it was a gift for Christmas. And my family and I, we came together and we read, and we had a book club meeting every Sunday, and we talked about the book. But reading can really have a major impact on you just in so many different ways, not just, as far as on an educational level when you're reading, for school, but just the stories and people and things that you can learn about the cultures. And it's nothing like reading.
Awesome. Awesome. So Nicole, as we are about to, I guess, wrap up sort of this segment of the interview, you've touched on it throughout, but can you let me know, where can our viewers buy the books if they don't win? We've got people dropping their names in. I've got a few more shout outs. If they don't win the books that we're giving away, where can they buy the books?
Well, they can buy the book at -jackson.com. But also, if they are, big Amazon fans, they can purchase at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Target, and any other major retailer where books are sold. So it's available online. If you just search Adventures of Dash Jackson, over a dozen will pop up pretty much instantly for you to select where you'd like to purchase.
Awesome. And then while I shout out Dominique and Michael Singleton, can you tell us how much to write this book?
It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I literally sat down with the intentions of writing just a few pages. Like, let me get my feet wet. And once I started writing, it just kind of like came to me, and it was like, oh, well, he should do this next. No, wait a minute, let's do this. And it was really something about just being creative and just kind of kind of playing make-believe and just, making up the story and adding different pieces to it as I went along, and then going back and reading it the next day because I was up all night writing. And so then the next day when I read it, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And, just really being excited about the fact that I actually went through the process and finished, when again, the goal initially that first night was just to write a few pages. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of, it was pretty exciting to be able to call my friend who had encouraged me and tell her like, hey, I finished. And then for her to be one of the first people that purchased the copy. The whole process was just really fun and exciting. It's when we received the first copy of the book, Dominic and I were in the car together and we opened it up. He went to the mailbox and he was like, our book. So just being able to see it and to hold it was just really, really fun and exciting.
I'm sure it was. And for those who don't know, if you're just joining, Dominic is the real Dash Jackson. Right. So we have, I want you to tell us where our viewers can follow you and where they can find you in other places. And after you do that, Miss Linda Morton has a question. She wants to know, do you have suggestions for our young kids who would like to be authors?
So first, you can find us online on social media, on Instagram and Facebook at Adventures of Jackson. So we are on Instagram and Facebook. If you type that in, it should pop up. My suggestion for young authors, if you have children who like to draw, who like to write stories, they do creative writing in school, just have them write the stories. Have them write the stories, go through the editing process, make sure that the story itself is, complete. And then if they're not an illustrator, maybe partner with a friend or a classmate who is has more of the creative side of things that they can take over, and they can kind of create this project together. And you kind of lay out your pages and you lay out the story, and then you add the illustrations in. If there are kids who are interested, like I said, one of the things, and I did another book reading, and I have a young lady who I'm actually working with now. So she's kind of my first young person that I'm working with. But she has some really creative stories that she has written. And so I'm helping her to kind of tie it together.
So the way for a younger reader to begin to write books is to just kind of sit down and write the book, and then reach out to, your friends and the people that you know, and get suggestions on other illustrators if you don't feel like you're artistic enough. But I want you to know that you are enough. To all of our viewers out there, know that you are enough. So if you have a book inside of you that you feel like you want to get out, just do like Nicole is saying, just start with that process.
Some of them just, kids, my son draws pictures at times, and I'm like, that's really good. It doesn't have to be perfect. And even when I went through this process, I sent Cameron the book. I didn't edit any of what he sent back to me.
So did you send him pictures of you and Dash, or?
That's all I did. Absolutely. I sent him a picture of Dominic. You don't ever actually see the mom's face in the book. It's always just Dash. But I sent him a picture. The first thing he did was kind of draw an idea of what Dash would look like. We tweaked that a little bit. Dominic likes a lot of anime, cartoons, and that sort of thing. So if you look at the eyes of the character have more of an anime look to them. As he gets older, we are going to segue and do a comic book series for the older kids.
So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are talking with author Nichole Jackson, and she is the author of the Adventures of Dash series. And we're speaking to her today about the book. I like to imagine. So tell us, without giving it all away, actually, let me share with you, because I just want to read this, and then you can tell us, you can fill in. And I think we have another question from the audience as well. So no, if you're in our listening audience and you have another question, go ahead and pop it in. But I wanted to, let me find my book. I left the actual book in the living room, but I have it on my notes here. So, because it was very intriguing when I read this part. So it says, have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be a famous artist? How much fun it would be if you were a ninja or a knight in shining armor? Meet Dash Jackson, a little boy with a big imagination. No matter what he is doing or where he is going, his imagination always seems to take over. Come imagine with Dash and learn all about his big adventures and how they often land him in even bigger trouble. So without telling us or spoiling the story, because we want people to go to your website and buy it, tell us some of the trouble that he gets in. Only tell us the trouble that he gets in this book.
So in this book, he's playing, he's imagining himself doing different things, and he sees something and he kind of wants to explore further. And mom says, that's not safe. Don't go over there. But of course, his imagination kind of takes over and he's not paying attention. And so because he's imagining and he's not paying attention, he kind of almost gets into a little bit of a dangerous situation and he almost falls and his mom has to catch him. because he wasn't paying attention and he wasn't following directions. So within each book, there's always also a lesson. And just making sure you're paying attention, following directions. There's always some sort of lesson to be learned within the story as well. And I think that's important as well, is that there is some type of, lesson to be learned as you're reading the story. And sometimes it's a subtle, small lesson. Another thing, he's sitting and he's waiting as he's doing one of the activities in the book, and he's kind of impatient. And, his mom is like, well, you got to be patient, because, being patient, then you get, in the end, you'll, finish what you started.
Okay. So in his adventures and in what Dash is doing, so you said the trouble that he almost gets into is he almost hurts himself a little bit. So right. You kind of pulled it away from me there a little bit. So every book has a lesson at the end of it. Mm-hmm. So I have one final question to you, but again, I just want to give our viewers one more opportunity to drop their names in the comments if they're viewing, and put anyone who's viewing right now, drop your names in the comments, and then you'll follow us on our social media pages so that when we are doing the drawing, because we want to make sure that you are there. So make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at BridelFoundation.com, and on Twitter you can follow us on BridelFoundA1. But if you are an aspiring young author, because somebody asked the question about how students or how kids can get started writing, or if you're an older author and you want us to spotlight you or your book, just give us a call to become a Meet the Author guest. You can call us at 443-990-1582, or you can go to our website, bridelfoundation.wixsite.com/website. And in doing that, you'll just click on the link to connect with us and we will contact you. You can send us an email. Our email is bridelfoundation@gmail.com. And we'd love to invite you to be our next guest that we get to feature. So we do have some more shout outs. So it looks like just to make sure, we have Dominic. I think we shouted out Dominic and Michael Singleton, and somebody else asked you, Devin's World wants to know, how much money do you make for writing?
It depends on whether or not the book is purchased directly from the website or if it's purchased through one of the platforms. So when it's purchased through Amazon and one of those other partners, you wholesale it out. So you don't really make as much money per book, but you can determine how much money you make per book because you set the pricing for your book. No one else can tell you. And that's one of the benefits of self-publishing. So you're not locked into doing whatever your publisher tells you to do. So it's sort of limitless. You can set the pricing for your book, and how much money you make is determined by how much you promote your book and the marketing and all of that sort of thing. So you can make $1 per book, or you can make $10 per book. So it really just depends on where you set your pricing for your book and how much it costs to actually produce the book. But all of that is based on if it is a, fictional novel and then it has a couple hundred pages. There's so many different factors in how much money you can make in writing a book.
Great. But step one to making that money is to write the book. So Nicole, we thank you for joining us, and we thank everyone who has tuned in and watched us tonight. And again, we just want to share that the Bridel Family Foundation's goal is to focus on literacy. We want to promote literacy and encourage reading as a fun activity. We are partnered with several different schools, and right now we are in the middle of our readathon. And the purpose of that readathon is to help us raise money to get books. So there are over 1,167 students at our partner schools. So if you would like to help us in our efforts or make a donation or donate your gently used or new books, you can make a donation to our PayPal at bridelfoundation@gmail.com. You can make that donation through their Cash App at Bridel Foundation, or you can go to the Bridel Foundation website and click donate, and we would be happy to accept your donations. If you just have some books and you're near one of our 3 office locations, we have locations in Salisbury, Maryland. We have locations in Landover and Columbia, South Carolina. You can drop off your donations to our office. Just give us a call at 990-1582, and we would be happy to take those donations. And I know the students at our schools will be happy to receive those books. They can't wait. They're so excited. And we're so proud of them, Nicole, because not only have they read that many minutes, but they're earning. So we just shared a movie with them. So the students who read 300 minutes or more were invited to come hang out with the members of the foundation. And we got to watch Raya in The Last Dragon. So we really enjoyed that. So again, shout out to those students. And those students who read 600 minutes or more got a free popcorn to have while they got to enjoy the movie. So we're going to keep reading. They're going to keep earning some more prizes. But in 3 seconds or less, tell us what is the next book, the next book that's coming. You've got 3 seconds to tell us the next book that's coming and where we can find it.
I Cannot Imagine will be out in the summer. So it is coming soon on -jackson.com.
Awesome. Well, Nicole, we thank you for coming and spending time with us. You are indeed part of our family. The Bridell Family Foundation is not just members of the Bridell family. It's members of our friends and our family and our community, because that's who we choose to serve. And we just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And remember, keep reading, because reading is fun. Good night, guys.